Are you feeling that whiplash from all the talk about AI and what it means for our careers? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. It feels like every single day there's a new headline that makes you feel either super excited or, let's be honest, kind of terrified about the future of work. So today, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're going to build a real practical roadmap to get from that anxiety to a place of actual readiness.
And look, this anxiety, it's not just in your head. It's a real response to a massive, undeniable shift that's happening. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of tech layoffs just in the last little while. The ground is literally shifting under our feet, and the scale of this change is something we just can't ignore.
And you know what's wild? It's the way these layoffs are happening. It just adds this whole other layer of shock. Just imagine for a second, you're on vacation, maybe even out of the country, and you get a text message that says you're laid off. It's just such a stark reminder that the professional world can feel so incredibly cold and impersonal. There's no heart in it, you know? So what do we do with all that frustration, all that anger? Well, the first impulse for so many of us is to just hit social media and let it all out. We're calling this VOR, venting online rage. And yeah, it might feel good for a minute, but it's usually a dead end. It can even come back to bite you professionally. But what if? What if we could take that exact same energy and flip the script, turn it into something powerful? Okay, so let's dive into this first big idea, how we move from rage to reason. This is all about making a really powerful mindset shift. It's about taking that raw, reactive energy and turning it into a proactive, strategic tool that can help you navigate this completely new era of work. Now this is so clever. We're looking at the exact same acronym, VOR, but we're totally reframing it. We're not trying to suppress that angry feeling, not at all. We're just redefining its purpose. So instead of venting online rage, we're going to cultivate a VOR that stands for voice of reason. See that? We're going from a total dead end to a real path forward. And listen, this transformation, it's not just some feel-good coping mechanism. No, it is the absolute key to developing what we're going to call an AI readiness mindset. This is the thing that lets you stop feeling like a victim of change and start becoming the architect of your own future in this new AI world. So this all sounds great, but how does it actually work in the real world? Well, it starts with something we're calling an emotional first aid kit. We're going to look at how you can actually use AI as a tool to process those really intense feelings, in private before they spill out all over the place. Let me tell you this incredible story from media strategist Mike Hayes. So a friend of his calls, and she is just completely seeing red, just full of rage after a conflict. Now, instead of just letting her vent at him, he gives her this really unusual advice. He says, open up ChatGPT and just pour every single drop of that emotion into it. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. The idea was to let the AI absorb all that poison. And what happened next was amazing. ChatGPT acted like a filter and gave her back this calm, strategic voice of reason response. And the result? Just an hour later, his friend wasn't upset anymore. She was calm, she was confident, and she had a clear plan to move forward. And this right here perfectly sums up the outcome. The very next day, his friend sent him this message. See, this isn't just about feeling better. It's about feeling empowered. She took a moment of total crisis and turned it into a moment of awesome, all because she changed the tools she used to process her emotions. Okay, so that's how you handle an emotional storm. But what about a professional one? Well, it turns out the exact same proactive mindset is the key. It's time to talk about building your professional lifeboat. It's all about getting ready for the storm long before the first drop of rain even falls. Hori, a strategist with FinFit Life, he basically lives by this philosophy. It's such a simple but deep idea, right? The time to prepare is now, not when you're already in the middle of a crisis. That is the absolute core of building your professional lifeboat. And Ron's own story makes this crystal clear. Years ago, he had a stable job at HP, but on the side, he was quietly building his own business, his lifeboat. Then, HP announced they were downsizing and offered early retirement packages. For Ron, this wasn't a crisis, it was an opportunity. He took the package. But his cousin, who also works there, made a totally different choice. He decided to stick it out for the steady paycheck, even though the writing was on the wall. Well, just 6 months later, his cousin got laid off, with no benefits, nothing. You have two people in the exact same situation with wildly different outcomes, all because one of them was prepared.
So, what's the big lesson here? Real readiness means you have to fundamentally shift your perspective. It's about moving away from a reactive employee mindset to a proactive entrepreneurial one. And that means you should always be building your lifeboat. Maybe it's a side business, maybe it's developing a new in-demand skill, maybe it's just building a killer network. You have to be the architect of your own safe haven.
So let's bring these two big ideas together, the emotional management and the professional strategy. This is what we're calling the Readiness Challenge. It's all about connecting your inner mindset with your outer actions so you can build a future that's truly resilient to whatever change comes your way.
So here it is, your action plan. First, use AI as your private emotional filter to turn that rage into reason. Second, start cultivating that entrepreneurial mindset. Think like a business owner, even if you're an employee. Third, start building that professional lifeboat today, not tomorrow, today. And finally, never forget that proactive, continuous learning is your single best defense against becoming obsolete.
When you really boil it all down, it seems like AI is pushing us all toward one of two very different futures. One of radical scarcity for people who aren't prepared, and one of radical abundance for those who are. There really is no middle ground. So the question we want to leave you with is a simple one. Which path are you actively preparing for?